Hi, folks. Welcome to Crisco's Corner.
Welcome back. And those of you that are new, welcome. From the Hill, is there a worldwide run on the Bank of the United States? Now, this is by Douglas McKinnon, and it's an opinion piece. But let me give you an idea. This guy's no political schmo hack. Give you a little background on Mr. McKinnon. He's, of course, a political and communications consultant, as most of them are. He also was the writer of the White House for Presidents Reagan and George H.W. Bush, and former special assistant for policy and communications at the Pentagon during the last 3 years of the Bush administration. So he's a little bit older, a little bit more experience, and he's seen and gone through a lot as far as world monetary policy goes. So he's no political, don't take it the wrong way, young people, but Gen Z hack, like a lot of them are. And he writes, in talking this week with a friend about the United States seemingly imploding from within across multiple sectors, and that's the key, not just financial, but social. If the family structure is gone, you can go through the list. My friend stressed, it's not just from within. There is a run on the United States from certain nations and business interest around the world. Just like there was a run on banks after the collapse of the Silicon Valley Bank, many nations are either thinking about or actually proceeding with transferring at least a portion of their allegiance, assets, and commitments from the Bank of the U.S. to the Bank of China or elsewhere. Yeah. I put that sound effect in, not as in tongue-in-cheek, because I like that. At least a portion of their allegiance. World leaders, world corporation owners, people with assets, capital to invest, just people in monetary system to begin with, have always had their allegiances with the United States, even when they hated them because the U.S. dollar was so strong. Now, part of their assets, or a portion of their assets, what they're doing is they're not stupid. People outside the United States can see much clearer what's happening here than the political hacks on the progressive left. They can see what's going on and they can see where it's going. Good monetary, good business people can see into the future a lot better than the average person. Now, that having been said, they're not fools. They're not going to take their allegiance away from the United States in total. They're putting their toe in the water, so to speak, maybe even their whole leg, who knows, because they're not sure what's going to happen. Things are so volatile in the United States politically and financially. And there's a lot of reasons for that. The number one reason is President Biden and his administration and the Democrats. Number two reason was COVID and how that was handled. And to be honest with you, the handling of COVID wasn't 100% perfect by Trump either. But I think if the world leaders and monetary policy setters in the world saw the U.S. was a little more stable, i.e. no more President Biden, even though they hate Trump's guts, a lot of them, at least publicly, privately not so much, I think it would make the monetary system a lot more stable. That's my opinion. And it's not just my opinion. I've got a lot of facts to back that up. Look at the first 2 years of the Trump presidency. But enough of my diatribe. Let's read on. This is not some person sitting on a porch casually talking about current affairs while whittling a stick, waiting us for a Social Security or pension check to hit the mailbox. This is a former high-level U.S. government official, now a CEO, someone who sits on the board of directors for multiple companies. He has massive real-world and business experience and believes the United States may be on the verge of collapse. But he is far from the only one to think that. Some fear the Biden administration is losing control of our southern border. Well, he has lost control. Not that he lost control. He just took control away. There's a difference. It's not like he tried his best and he lost. Losing control of our decaying, crime-infested big cities all run by progressive Democrats, creating a recession, vilifying and needlessly destroying the fossil fuel industry while pushing suspect and subsidized green energy alternatives, leaving tens of billions of dollars in military equipment in Afghanistan while withdrawing our troops and abandoning an ally. Stepping closer to a tripwire in the Ukraine war would trigger a nuclear strike, turning on Israel over ideological issues as Turkey and others call on Arab and Muslim nations to unite and crush the Jewish state. That's a huge one. The Israelis have nuclear weapons. And I won't say that they're paranoid, but they're damn close, and they have good reason to be. They've been invaded several times by every Arab nation, and they've always kicked all their asses every time. But this time, it looks like maybe Israel may truly be in danger. Now, do you think they'll go down without a fight? Every single adult in Israel is subject to military service, men and women. These people don't play. Even the 50, 60-year-old guy who hasn't been in the military since he was young knows how to use a weapon. Believe me, they do. And if they see they're going to be wiped off the face of the earth, they will use everything possible to not put themselves back in the state that they were in before World War II. Weakening our military with one woke edict after another, that's another thing. It's incredible to me that the woke philosophy, so to speak, that they're giving all the, even the Coast Guard, the Navy, the Army, the Marines, the Air Force, focusing on trans issues at the expense of failing transportation infrastructure. This trans issue, to me, I can't figure out how such a small percent of people, in number and percent, could have so much authority, not just over our media and our social media, our advertising, our culture, but control over our government. It's scary as hell. Cheerleading the social justice warrior takeover of our colleges and universities, yeah. Cheerleading. Not just say, well, we don't know what to do, they're crazy. They're actually goading them on and helping them for a whole new generation of clueless Americans. And as far as economics go, the most important thing in weakening the dollar, the currency much of the world depends upon. All natural gas and oil, to my understanding, is through the petrodollar worldwide, and that is U.S. currency. Is it any wonder that nations such as France, India, Saudi Arabia, Japan is number 3 economy in the world, folks. Mexico, Brazil, and others are suddenly hedging their bets by looking beyond the U.S. for partnerships and stability. Well, they're not stupid. They're not going to be flushed down the toilet like the United States is trying to do themselves. They're intelligent people that run a lot of these countries. They see what's coming or they think is coming. On top of those problems, our allies and certain foreign corporations now have legitimate concern of wondering what between them and the United States would be kept private and secure in light of the massive and deeply deliberate leak of classified Pentagon documents. Who is an ally or force business partner to trust? More importantly, in the eyes of some of these nations and foreign business interests, who will prove to be the more stable and dependable partner in the coming years and decades? One thing, all human beings, but especially huge business interests, stability and dependability. No matter how much turmoil the U.S. has gone through, our currency has always been stable or fairly stable, except for China devaluing their currency. Other than that, the U.S. I remember I saw a video one time of 60 Minutes was in Moscow when the Soviet Union collapsed. And they were interviewing prostitutes, believe it or not, on the streets of Moscow. And they say, since your currency is worthless now, what do you take for payment? And the prostitute said, we take German marks, which is a very stable currency in Europe at the time, Marlboro cigarettes, and U.S. dollars. If you don't have one of those 3 things, even the prostitutes in Moscow won't do business with you. I wonder what they say now. Stability and dependability. And an example of world leaders hedging his bets, first President Macron, who I can't stand, but at least he was scared of Trump, recently traveled to Beijing to meet with China's President Jinping. Macron did not travel alone. He brought along Ursula von der Leyen, the president of the European Commission. Here we go with the EU again. Some saw this as Macron advertising that much of the European Union is with him in spirit as he met with Xi. Are they going to transfer everything? But they're going to test the waters. And don't you think that China is going to welcome them with open arms? On his way back to France after the meeting, Macron emphasized that Europeans should not be just America's followers. And there you go. There's the beginning. And get caught up in crises that are not ours. Yep. Even though the French leaders seem to be spelling it out in 100 font, one could read between the lines and assume he meant not getting dragged too deeply into the Ukraine war or defending Taiwan should China invade. The last part was music to the ears of China's strongman Xi. Yep. Two hot points right now. Ukraine and Taiwan. If Taiwan falls, depending on the response of the Americans, will shift around power in the world dramatically. Next, we have Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador. This is the one that openly criticized Trump being indicted. He thought it was ridiculous. Even though the guy's a Marxist communist, I mean, the truth is still the truth. He openly criticized and challenging the leadership of the United States for months by calling the U.S. an oligarchy and not a real democracy. This is a guy that's a Marxist communist is calling the U.S. an oligarchy and not a real democracy. Think about that for a minute. He threatened to sabotage calls for U.S. military action against Mexican cartels and has made it clear that he is not afraid to pick a fight where he may see as a United States in decline. Remember the British Empire. Remember it pre-World War II, actually pre-World War I, and then after the end of World War II, and see what happened, inch by inch. Or last month's news that Saudi Arabia, of all places, was inching closer to joining a China-led Asian security and economics bloc after having been granted the status of a dialogue partner in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Aside from China and Russia, the bloc also includes India, huge economic power in Asia, Pakistan, and some ex-Soviet states. It's an organization one might view as not always having the best interest in the United States. It was President Trump and his administration that put together 5 Middle East peace deals. Any one of them would have won a Nobel Prize. He got 5. And you know what he got for it? He got this. A economic treaty, an exchange program between Saudi Arabia and Israel. Saudi Arabia, they don't get along with their neighbors, Iran. What this moron that we have for a president is doing, he's taking people that historically have been enemies or not seen to be very good friends, and he's pushing them together in alliances. Example, President Putin going to China a couple of weeks ago. God knows what kind of economic deals they made for gas and oil and other things. Russia is very, very rich in natural resources, which China needs desperately. It's amazing to me. Russia and China have never gotten along, ever. Pushing enemies together to go against you. It's moronic. It's moronic foreign policy. A Saudi analyst and writer made clear during an interview that traditional monogamous relationship with the U.S. is not over. And those of you monogamous means from marriages, I'm going to be with you and only you. But maybe not anymore. And we all know what that means. That means divorce. And now we have gone into more open relationship, strong with the U.S., but equally strong with China, India, the UK, France, and others. UK, our oldest and most reliable ally. Finally, we have Brazil, China's most important trading partner in South America. South America and Africa, China is extending great lengths in, economically and socially. Announcing a new agreement to conduct bilateral commerce in their respective currencies rather than the U.S. dollar. And there is the start of the decline of the American dollar and currency. And when that happens, the world will spin down the toilet. And the strong will survive and the weak will perish economically. The move not only shocked many in the U.S. government, but opened the eyes of others around the world the possibility of decoupling from the dollar. They're going to see other countries do it and see how they fare. If they're not hurt at all, at least, they're going to tip their toe in the water or maybe their whole leg and do it as well. And that is the beginning of the end of the American economy. Some of these things are happening because a growing number of political and business leaders around the world now lack confidence in the United States, believing our country is in disarray, declining and increasingly polarized and politicized. Will such concerns accelerate around the back of the United States as assets being transferred to China or even Russia? Only time will tell. But as with the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank, the signs are out there. Should the analysts care to pay attention? Yes, you're seeing cracks in the worldwide economic dominance of the United States. It is in part because of China, but the most part of this whole thing is internally in the United States. They see what's going on here, and they shake their head like, what the hell is going on? I know many of you Democrats out there hate the word Donald Trump. Many of you despise the word Republican even. But we are looking at not just an economic collapse in the United States monetary system, but the monetary system around the world. And the last time that happened was in the late 1920s, early 1930s. And the decade after that was the most destructive decade in the history of humans, pre and post World War II. We were lucky to survive it, financially and morally. Next time you vote, folks, I know you hate Trump. I know you hate Republicans, but you cannot vote for these people that are running our country anymore. I get the fact that you hated Donald Trump, and I voted for Biden, not because I liked him, because I hated Trump. But look what's happening. You need to stop and think. Go outside, take a breath. For those of you that drink, take a shot, clear your head a little bit. Take a walk and read this article again and again and again. And let it just swallow your pride and your anger and your love for the Democrat Party, which doesn't exist anymore, at least not in the form it used to be, and say, okay, I'm doing this for my country, and I'm doing this for the world and humanity. It really is up to you. What are you going to do? It's a hell of a responsibility, but the responsibility has been thrust upon you. Please do not screw it up. Until the next time, goodbye and good luck. And God bless America.